bertemu kembali. Perkembangan industri berfokus inovasi Unmanned Aerial Vehicle UAV dan Unmanned Aircraft Systems UAS di Malaysia terus giat dimajukan dengan penyediaan Area 57. Area 57 adalah sebuah pusat kecemerlangan, penyelidikan dan pembangunan serta pemerkasaan bakat yang dibangunkan Technology Park Malaysia dan dipralancar sekitar 3 minggu lepas. Menurut MOSTI, Area 57 akan menyediakan infrastruktur bersepadu di kawasan seluas 5 ekar bagi perkhidmatan termasuk penyelidikan, pembangunan, pengujian dan pengkomersialan serta penyelenggaraan penyelesaian berkaitan drone. Area 57 merupakan pusat sehenti yang pertama untuk inovasi sistem pesawat udara tanpa pemandu UAV dan UAS di wilayah tengah Malaysia. Pusat sehenti ini disediakan dengan landasan drone 100 meter, kawasan jaring drone 300 meter persegi dan tapak mock-up pengujian drone. Untuk membincangkan sasaran dan fokus sebagai Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif Technology Park Malaysia, ikuti temu bual editor Rizal Zulkapli bersama Dzuleira Abu Bakar.
Zu, thank you for joining us. Zu, tell us more about the National Technology and Innovation Sandbox and how it's progressing now.
Thanks, Rizal, for having me. So the NTIS, or the National Technology and Innovation Sandbox, is a platform that we developed about a year ago. We got the approval to launch the platform officially on the 15th of July 2020. So we are over a year right now into the platform. We have received overwhelming response, actually. So more than 500 complete applications we've received to date. We have actually admitted close to about 140 companies into the sandbox, right, who have received funding, technology commercialization and regulatory support. So maybe just to recap, the National Technology and Innovation Sandbox is meant to be a platform that would help facilitate companies commercialize faster, as well as get the necessary support. This includes regulatory certifications, as well as any form of approvals that are required for companies to actually deploy to market. So it is really facilitation of business, so to speak, and to actually enable technology adoption in a big way, right? And we do this with the corporates as well as we do this with the public sector, which is government. We have actually, it cuts across all of the technology verticals. We actually place this framework against the national My STIE framework, which is pegged across 10 socio-economic sectors and 10 industries, right? And we've seen many applications in medical technology as well as agriculture. In fact, I think close to 50% of our applications is in medtech as well as agri, right? And we also look at various technology applications that have that we've seen through the platform, namely drones, artificial intelligence, as well as biotechnology, right? So those are the key technology clusters that we've seen. We've also launched drone development areas. We've launched drone development zones in Felda, Mampaga. We also have an ongoing partnership with the drone and robotics zone in Iskandar. And recently, we also launched a use case, which is the urban drone delivery use case in Cyberjaya, right? So this was done in partnership with AirAsia. And of course, most recently, we launched Area 57, which is an integrated center of excellence for drone development. Right here in TPM, it is a 5-acre development zone. As I've mentioned, the whole intent is for it to be a center of excellence. It will integrate key activities like commercialization, R&D, facilitation, route to market partnerships, as well as repair and maintenance, right? So it's an integrated center where drone developers can actually get the support that they need. This also includes flying zone as well as office space.
And Zul, tell us about this drone technology, right? What's the market potential for that, and how is Malaysia faring in this or with regards to this?
So if you look at market potential, we're looking at about 41.3 billion US dollars expected in terms of market size by 2026, and we're just probably 5 years away. And again, the market potential is so big, and if you take a fraction of it, Malaysia is really in the forefront in that sense. And we are poised to become one of the leading players in drone technology because we actually already have the necessary support that is required as far as the regulatory scene is concerned, as well as market support. There's a lot of interest in terms of drone technology in Malaysia, and we are continuing to see drone technology being deployed across various verticals and various industries, right? And this ranges from oil and gas, surveillance and inspections of lines, border control, delivery. There's just multiple use cases already in Malaysia in itself. Right? So we hope that with the right regulatory support and environment, we will be able to actually compete internationally and be part of this global market size of this 41 billion that we are looking at by 2026.
You mentioned for it to also expand internationally, but can it scale? Because I think we're looking at a national sandbox, right, as opposed to perhaps a regional sandbox. Can it scale, and can it look at the regional market as soon as possible?
I think the national sandbox was actually set up for the purpose of helping local companies receive necessary support. And that necessary support should enable them to grow beyond the Malaysian market. I mean, that is really the intent, because we would provide whatever support that they need from a technology perspective, funding, facilitation, regulatory support in order for them to test in Malaysia to ensure that they become globally competitive. Right? That's always been the sort of the intent of the sandbox in itself, and it's part of our national strategy to actually enable our local companies to be able to compete internationally, competitively internationally.
So tell us more about Area 57. Why is it necessary, and what does it offer to the players involved in Area 57?
Okay, so Area 57, I think, is a very important narrative and a very important proposition for the drone tech industry, simply because I think it's important to provide integrated support. In Malaysia right now, we have a lot of interest for drone technology, as I've mentioned earlier, but the support is somewhat disintegrated at the moment. But we are seeing growing interest to support this industry from the government as well as private sector. So there's already multiple use cases across industries. So there is a need to help the industry grow further. There is a need to help the industry build its capacity and capability from a technology perspective, from a talent perspective, as well as ability, like I said, to actually cater to various use cases, right? Right now, the support is somewhat disintegrated. Whilst there are many support out there, the idea of Area 57 is to bring everyone under one roof, right? So we're able to build a more cohesive community of drone tech players and understand the issues on the ground and to be able to support them ground up. So you would also see that that Iskandar has actually done a great job creating this drone development zone in Medini, right? So that's a start to an integrated support. We are a partner to the drone development zone in Iskandar. But probably the unique selling proposition of Area 57 is that we are actually coupling it with TPM's vision and mandate for it to become an integrated tech hub. We are actually looking to turn TPM into an integrated tech hub where we're actually looking to have clusters of technology within TPM, right? So we're about 600 acres in total in Bukit Jalil. We have 3 phases. Phase 1 and Phase 2 is largely developed. Phase 3 is undeveloped for now, but we have big plans for Phase 3 because we're also looking to build an AI community, right? So we're building an AI city right here in Technology Park Malaysia. So I guess with Area 57, which is focused on drones, and when we build a community focused on drone technology here in TPM, we'll be able to sort of leverage on the other clusters that we're building within TPM. Again, I think for for drone technology itself, there are various components to the drone technology. Of course, one part of it is the hardware, and of course the brains, which is the software of the drones. Again, the hardware space is very competitive. China is really the factory of the world as far as drones are concerned. So I think there's a lot of discussion within the drone tech players in Malaysia right now as to which part of the value chain do we own in Malaysia, or where do we actually want to build capabilities and strength in, right? So I think we have many companies who have continued to actually deepen their value in certain value chains. For example, the software part of the drones, right? So we have, of course, Aerodyne, and we have other companies that are also looking to build the software part of the drones, right? So it's about developing the analytics capabilities. It's about developing the non-hardware related technology to be actually embedded into the drones. Again, ultimately, the drones can be always retrofitted, right, for specific use cases.
Yep.
Yeah.
Zul, this is a physical space that you mentioned earlier. This TPM space for Area 57 is a physical space. But what about the soft side of it? You've mentioned software, but how could this Area 57 promote national innovation, and how do you get foreign and international players to be part of this as well, so that there's a competition that's good for the industry, right?
Yeah, so as I've mentioned earlier, building a community of strong entities, strong tech startups is very important. And again, building a community is also important for the entities within the community to leverage on each other. We learn from people who are better than us, and the same applies to groups of technology entities, right? So it is important for a community to come together to learn from their peers, right? Now, as they improve and as they get better, they would be able to globally compete better. Now, with that, you would attract international interests. You would attract international investors. And again, investors are attracted to growth, strength of companies, entities that are able to sort of deploy in multiple use cases and multiple industries. So it's really a chicken and egg kind of thing, right? When you build strength, when you build capabilities, you will be able to actually attract investments.
How much investment is going into this facility, this Area 57?
So right now, Area 57, we are developing this through the support of the government as well. So this is funded through the RMK. So we're looking at about 20 to 30 million in terms of development of this area over the next 5 years, right? So of course, this will be a staggered development, and because it also involves construction of physical facilities, so the investment into the area is quite substantive in that sense.
And tell us about your targets in terms of the number of companies, solutions that can be commercialized, and when do you expect that to happen?
So going back to what I mentioned earlier, Area 57 is funded through the Rancangan Malaysia Ke-12, so RMK 12. We are deploying government rather is deploying funds over a period of 5 years, and over that period of 5 years we are looking to turn TPM into an international innovation hub, and of course the drone development zone is part of that international innovation hub plans, where we are looking to sort of impact 5,000 technopreneurs. We're looking at about 15 intellectual properties just in next year alone. Yeah? So this is not over 5 years. But for 2022, we're looking at 5,000 technopreneurs as well as 15 IPs to be created through infrastructure facilities, support, coaching and mentoring, as well as market access support. Right, and we are also looking to host, as I mentioned earlier as well, the first artificial intelligence park in Malaysia, where we will be looking at clusters of technology to support the entire AI ecosystem, which includes 5G development, sustainable urban farming, biotechnology, autonomous vehicle and robotics. Right, again, this will all be interlinked. All of these technology clusters will be interlinked to build this entire AI ecosystem. And drones or like I mentioned earlier, the brains of the drones is very much linked to the AI ecosystem.
Zud, share with us. You joined TPM in April of this year, right? What have you discovered so far? What gaps have you seen so far? And how do you address that moving forward to further help the technopreneurs and also the current inhabitants of TPM?
Okay. So yeah, great question. I came on board in April this year. In fact, I came on board as part of a bigger mandate. I was actually transferred, so to speak, from Magic. I was previously leading Magic, so I was transferred from Magic to TPM to head up this new mandate that was announced by the government, which is the Technology Commercialization Accelerator. So the Technology Commercialization Accelerator, in short, is intended to provide an integrated support for the commercialization ecosystem in Malaysia, right? To support our researchers, to support technopreneurs, to support talent in Malaysia, commercialize their products and services, right? Ultimately, we're looking to actually build a strong ecosystem of technology producers, right? To eliminate whatever barriers there is to commercialize their products, right? So TCA will be the platform that will provide the integrated support, capacity building, funding facilitation, infrastructure, incubation facility. So that's in a nutshell what TCA is intended to do. But this is where TCA will also provide a new mandate to what TPM is. Right? So TPM has been around for 25 years. It was incorporated in 1996. The initial mandate, yes, it was incorporated to be a tech and innovation park. They've done fairly well. You know, we've got MIMOS, which is based out of TPM, IRIS, APU, what you call that, many technology clusters are also based out of TPM. We've got a group of incubatees, and we've also got tenants, land-based tenants, which are based out of TPM right now. And TPM is not too big in that sense, but also not very small. We're broken out into 3 key phases. Phase 1 and phase 2, we're already looking at several technology clusters that are already there. So with the new mandate, we are looking to sort of rejuvenate TPM's mandate. We are looking to bring in new technology clusters, which is where drones is an important technology cluster, with wide-ranging use case across various industries and various verticals. So drones is a new technology areas that we're bringing in. We're also going to create and develop an artificial intelligence park, an AI park at phase 3 of TPM, which is currently undeveloped. That's part of the plan. So as you can tell, it's breathing new life into TPM, so to speak, right? So the future state of TPM is that it will be an integrated one-stop center to support technopreneurs, to support commercialization of local technology, to enable them to be globally competitive.
Having said that, finally, my last question is, having said that, do you foresee a more seamless experience for technopreneurs to enter the market, to get support from these various agencies? Do you foresee that happening with this integration and with you leading TPM? Do you foresee the ecosystem being a bit more easier and much more easier, I guess, for technopreneurs to have an idea and get them to the market?
Yes, that's definitely the intent of the commercialization accelerator in essentially providing a one-stop center or completing the value chain, so to speak, right? So right now, again, going back to the point I made earlier about the drone ecosystem, what we have in Malaysia, we have a lot of support, but perhaps slightly disintegrated in itself. So we want to provide a one-stop center on behalf of the ministry in itself, where technopreneurs can come to us for the support that they need, right? We also want to facilitate R&D, right? So we also want to facilitate research in areas that matters, areas that are aligned to national strategy, and we want to allow for R&D to happen in these areas, right? So then we would match it against real issues that the country is facing currently, right? We want to increase the rate of commercialization for Malaysia. We want to increase the number of tech entities for Malaysia. We want to increase the number of technopreneurs for Malaysia. So I think it's very important to have integrated support, community support, facilities, infrastructure, capacity building, right?
Mm-hmm. Zul, if you don't mind, can I just ask you one more question?
Sure.
I know I mentioned it was the final question, but what's your KPI for TPM? I'm sure you've already lined out your KPI, but share with us the perhaps top 3 low-hanging fruits that we can look forward to from you regarding TPM. You mentioned the 15 IPs, but other than that, what's your KPI?
So I think as far as the KPI is concerned, as I mentioned earlier, we are in the process of consolidating the agencies right now. So we are working on an integrated strategy for the commercialization accelerator, technology commercialization accelerator. So I will not be able to share specific numbers as yet.
Yeah.
But generally, high level, what we're actually looking at, like I said, to actually address the gaps in the market right now. Our commercialization rate is fairly low. Right. We are as of 2016, our commercialization rate, 2016-2017, our commercialization rate was anywhere between 12 to 13% only. Right. So we are looking at increasing the commercialization rate. But in order to increase the commercialization rate, there are multiple things that come into play. Also, to improve and increase private sector spending into R&D. To actually be able to support R&D, to provide an integrated support for researchers, for universities, be it public and private researchers, to actually be able to get their products to market, right? So there are multiple things that we're looking at. And in that process, our KPI will also include building of IPs, right? Number of IPs, number of technopreneurs, as well as increase in commercialization rates, right? So those are the high-level KPIs that we'll be looking at.
On that note, thank you very much, Zul, for joining us.